Guruve Gaurachandra Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tada Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. My Dandavat Pranam devotees. So I wanted to answer a couple of questions that were written in. I believe I've answered one of them before, and that was about the prominence of Srimati Radharani in as practiced by, well, the question was literally, why is it that some devotees give emphasis to the practice around the worship of Srimati Radharani, and is that something which our Srila Prabhupada had established as opposed to being something more related to Gaudiya Math, and they put in also to Babaji's. So just for some clarity, our Srila Prabhupada equally wrote about the glory of Srimati Radharani. I think if you will look carefully in the 4th chapter of Adi Leela and Chaitanya Charitamrita, I think also in Ramananda Samvad, which is Madhya Leela chapter 8, you'll see that there are several places throughout Srila Prabhupada's writings, and if you study the writings under guidance, you'll see even more that where it is not directly mentioned throughout all of the Gaudiya literatures, means the literatures related to our practice, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita, you'll see that there's the glory of Srimati Radharani present there. So in part, what makes it difficult is that in the Western paradigm of religious traditions, the Abrahamic religions in particular, though there is an idea of feminine divinity, it's not something that is open. Normally, the concept of God in Christianity, Islam, and Judaism as well, at least on the external side, is dominated by masculine identity related to God. So we have become accustomed to taking to any spiritual practice, if we come from the foundation of any of the Western religions, which is predominantly Christianity, with a sort of masculine polarity only regarding God. So even in the very beginning of our Krishna consciousness movement, many times the question would be, well, who is Srimati Radharani? Because obviously the deities of Radha and Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada, in many cases, to introduce the idea, he would say that Radharani is the greatest devotee of Krishna. So of course, for many years, that was the standard understanding of the ontological or theological position of Srimati Radharani. She is the greatest devotee of Krishna. But the details of what that meant to be the greatest devotee of Krishna wasn't so much unpacked unless you actually, there are some lectures that Srila Prabhupada gave, in particularly on Radhastami, but certainly, as I mentioned, written in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and also in Srimad Bhagavatam in many places. It looks like I'm getting some freezing going on. I'm not exactly sure what's happening with that. But anyway, I'll continue and see how it all pans out here. But, so obviously if you read more deeply, especially under guidance, those writings, then it's very clear that the ontology of Srimati Radharani is a lot deeper than simply being the greatest devotee of Krishna. And we could say that that saying, she is the greatest devotee of Krishna, is part of that theological position of Srimati Radharani. What is it that classifies being a devotee of Krishna? A pure devotee of Krishna is understood by the verse, Anya Abhilasita Sunya Jnana Karmara Anavritam Anukulena Krishna Anusilanam Bhaktir Uttama. Uttam bhakti is that bhakti which is practiced free from any other desire except the kalyan. Kalyan means the happiness is a translation, but actually kalyan means the best mood of devotion towards Krishna. And the reason I say that is because our Goswamis have given examples of what is called ativyapti dosh and avyapti dosh, which means a fault of either overextending the meaning or underextending the meaning of bhakti. So I'll give the example. When Krishna went to the wrestling arena of Kamsa, he fought with two wrestlers named Charna and Mushtika, and Toshal. There were other wrestlers there as well. But while Krishna was wrestling, Srimad Bhagavatam describes the smile that he had. So from that, we could deduce that Krishna was very happy in engaging and fighting with these wrestlers. So would they be counted because they gave happiness to Krishna, quote, would they be, you didn't see my air quotes, right? Would they be considered devotees of Krishna? And our Goswami Vargas have said no. So this is a overextension, ati vyakti dosh. It's an overextension of the meaning because actually Charan, Mushtika, Toshal, and the other wrestlers, they were operating under the order of Kamsa to kill Krishna. So that is pratikul, means it's unfavorable to devotional service. So they certainly cannot be classified among devotees. So then the question will arise, well, why was Krishna smiling? Why did he appear to be happy? Well, Krishna is also Atmaramata. Atmaramata means Krishna is always self-satisfied. His happiness is not dependent on others. When there are those who have full devotion and love for Krishna, like Mother Yashoda, which is the other example that's given by our Goswami Varga, that when Mother Yashoda was doing the Damodar Leela, when she was preparing milk for serving Krishna, then at that time Krishna came and he was taking her breast milk. When Mother Yashoda saw that the milk that she was preparing, from which she would make so many preparations, yogurt, ghee, butter, sweets, so many things would be prepared from that, she immediately put Krishna down and went to attend to the milk, which made Krishna cry, which means that Krishna would be apparently unhappy. But the Goswamis have described, if you believe that Mother Yashoda did not show devotion here, this is avyapti dosh, means an underextension of the meaning of bhakti, because Mother Yashoda's Vatsalya prem is completely satisfying to Krishna in all circumstances. In the context of the Leela, Krishna will make different expressions regarding how that happiness is appearing in his heart. You understand? But certainly because Mother Yashoda's activities were fully imbued with love, there can be no doubt that it was fully pure devotional service. So greatest devotee then contextually would have to be related to what kind of person has anya avilasita sunyam jnana karmani anavatam, obviously, which means their bhakti is not covered by jnana karma, and there's no other desire except the anukul pleasure of Krishna. You understand? So certainly Mother Yashoda had that. So how does that relate to Srimati Radharani? In the context of Srimati Radharani, then love is the essential thing that makes Krishna happy. Bhakti really is a synonym for love. Just like in Sanskrit language, bhakti comes from the root bhaj. Bhaj dhatu iti sevayam. It means the root of the word bhakti is service. So Srila Prabhupada actually very ingeniously described bhakti as devotional service. Because a service can be rendered where there is no devotion, means no love. So devotional service means a service rendered with love. So Srimati Radharani is the epitome of such kinds of devotional service. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada gave the explanation she is the greatest devotee of Krishna. But that has a very deep meaning, such as Krishna's greatest pleasure comes from what is the element of love imbued or embedded in any service that's rendered. Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhakta prayachati. What is tasted by Krishna in any kind of offering is bhakti or love. In the category of love, there are gradations. So, of course, the first level of love, which is experienced by realized form of love experienced by any aspirant on the path, is called bhav. In the stage of bhav is the first time that the full ingredient so to speak, or at least the ray, not the full, but the ray of the ingredient of the internal spiritual energy descends into the consciousness of the jiva. So when that happens, then Sudha Sattva Viseshatma Prem Suryangsa Samyabha Ruchi Vis Chittamasranya Kritasobhavuchite. This stage is called Bhav, and it's because a particular type of ruchi or taste in lovingly serving God has manifest in the consciousness of the aspirant. That stage is called Bhav. As long as one has a physical body, the expression of Bhav is the greatest expression we can give, because there's still some contact with the external world via the material body we still have, even as perfected practitioners at that point. Now, once we give up the material body and there's no need to take another material body, then a body is received, which is called a Vastu Siddhi body, means a body which is composed completely of spiritual energy. And it is in that body that we can fully express of the nature of what is love. So in that particular body is where prem fully manifests, and that is called prem. That's the actual definition of the word prem. Bhav is the stage preceding prem, but when you get a vastu, spiritual body, then prem can fully be enhanced in that body. So enhanced means that prem also grows in increments. So prem, sneha, man, pranay, rag, anurag. So anurag itself is a very special thing, and it is the baseline mood of the gopis who serve Krishna in conjugal love. This anurag undergoes further transformations and becomes mahabhav. That mahabhav undergoes also further transformations and becomes ruda, very extreme, and adirud, even more extreme form of mahabhav, or highest quality of love. Within that adirud, there are also three things: modan, mohan, and madan. Among those three, the highest is madan. That madan or madanakya mahabhav is the exclusive property of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, Srimati Radharani is the greatest devotee, not just in a sort of just theological sense, but in the sense of reality, that the thing which is the basis of love is most fully expressed in Srimati Radharani. So the statement she is the greatest devotee is not just based on a sort of theological ideal, but it's based on the reality, which is the underlying foundation of that, which is love. The highest degree of love makes someone the greatest devotee. So Madanakya Mahabhav is the exclusive property and exclusive mood of Srimati Radharani. That mood does not exist in anyone else. Whether they are Nitya Siddha, means eternally accomplished, or whether they have become Siddha by practice, Sadhana Siddha, know that mood of Srimati Radharani exists in anyone, even the other Kaya Vyuha, means the other expansions of Radharani. Because all the gopis who are Nitya Siddhas are expansions of Srimati Radharani herself. They're called Kaya Vyuha. But in them also, like Lalita Visakha, right, even her own party, they're called Swapaksh, her own group, that level of love does not exist in them, only in Srimati Radharani. You understand? So Radharani also has been described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Radha Krishna Chi Sada Eki Sarup, Lila Rasa Asudite Dare Dui Rup. So it's not that Radha and Krishna are two different people. Radha and Krishna are one person. Ek I Swarup, they are one person. Lila Rasa Asudite, in order to taste the speciality of rasa in the form of various pastimes, leelas, dare dui rup, they've accepted two forms. So Radharani is actually the internal reality or internal energy or internal disposition of Krishna's happiness manifest in a form. So she's not a different person. She's actually Krishna's own internal reality manifest in a separate form. So in order to taste unlimited kinds of pastimes in which rasa means Rasa technically is described as various ingredients mixed together. I'll give you an example, not to go into so much technical detail. When you are cooking and you want to make a particular dish, well, the various spices that go into that dish are called a samagri. A samagri means a mixture. So it's the combination of that salt, pepper, curry powder, whatever you might be using, that creates the very taste within that dish. So similarly, rasa is a grouping of elements that create the taste within serving Krishna. So just to briefly go through the technical part of it, the first thing is called a sthai bhav, which is a permanent sentiment of love towards Krishna. Then there is a vibhav. Vibhav means a category where that love for Krishna takes on specificity, right? Now I'm not talking about in terms of whatever your rasa is, but specificity in terms of how it functions. That sthai bhav then becomes vibhav, and vibhav consists of alamban and udipan. So the word alamban here means support. So for love to exist, it needs to be supported by a reality of two people. Right? Because if you say, I'm in love, the next question is, in love with whom? You understand? So even if you take yourself as the second person, yes, I'm in love with myself. You understand? So there's a kind of dynamic there where you're seeing yourself from another position. You say, I'm in love with myself. So two people are necessary to have the ideal of love. So here it's described that the alamban, a support of love, is divided into two. Asraya and Vishai. Vishai means the object of the love, and Asraya means the repository of the love. So in our Gaudiya theology, which means the same teachings that our Srila Prabhupada has given us, Shri Krishna is the Vishaya Jaktiya, means he's the object of love. Any kind of permanent sentiment called sthai bhav, right? Sthai bhav utrasa prokta Shri Krishna Vishayini Rati. Krishna is the object of that. For instance, in Vatsalya Ras, he's the object of the love of Mother Yashoda Maharaj Nanda. In Sakya Ras, he's the object of love of Sudam, Shubal, Sridam, right? Madhu Mangal, etc. He's the object of their Vatsalya, their Sakya praying, their friendship mood of love. And similarly for the gopis, he's the Vishai of conjugal mood, of conjugal love, headed by Srimati Radharani. So the Asraya means the repository of the love, and the ultimate Asraya of love is also personified as Srimati Radharani. Understand this? So Radharani is the ultimate Asraya, and by extension, all of those who want to love Krishna, they are blessed with the power coming originally from Radharani called Bhakti. Bhakti is also a Shakti. It is a power, right? That Shakti is what enters into the heart of the either aspiring person when they become perfect, or in those who are Nitya Siddha, eternally accomplished. It is that energy of Bhakti Shakti, right, which comes from the original Asraya of love itself, Radharani, and comes into them and becomes the principle of Asraya within them. Asraya here means they become the repository of that kind of affection or love towards Krishna. You understand? But it originates in the original position of Asraya, which is Srimati Radharani. Understand? So the ontology of Srimati Radharani is actually very, very deep, because she's also Bhagavan, she's also God. It's just that in our Western concept, we don't have that ideal. In every other culture of antiquity, the idea of a masculine and feminine polarity of God exists. In ancient Egypt, or Kemet, which it's called, Asad Aset, or Isis and Osiris existed. Even in all the cultures of West Africa, like in Ghana, in Akan tradition, you have Maulisa. In Yoruba tradition, there's the feminine principle of divinity. It's called Olodumare, but the feminine principle of existence is there, right? Like in the practice in West Africa, which is called Ifa, right? The very basis of a lot of how to understand everything regarding Ifa is present in the Odu Ifa. Odu Ifa means the corpus or writing, which is the tool by which many of the teachings regarding the practice of Ifa and the whole Orisha tradition is based. The Odu Ifa is female. You understand? So there's always in every culture of antiquity a principle of feminine divinity. But in the Abrahamic religions, it was kind of either suppressed. I don't know if it's a patriarchal, cultural considerations or whatever it might be. It exists there, but it's suppressed. But in Gaudiya theology, it's very prominent up to the point of understanding that Srimati Radharani and Krishna are both equal manifestations of the absolute truth. One of the things that's happened even within our own growth in bhakti is we've taken the sort of Christian background, which was the prominent religious practice in the Western world, and we've kind of just transferred the concept from Christianity into bhakti. So Krishna is that God who we didn't know his name, what he looked like, what it was his abode. Now we've known those details, so to speak, coming to bhakti, but we have the idea it's still the same thing. That God is essentially, that same God we knew from the Christian tradition is Krishna, right? But there wasn't so much accommodation because of, again, the absence theologically of feminine principle of divinity in Christianity, at least overtly not there. We sort of made the same kind of impression onto bhakti. Therefore, when we heard even that Srimati Radharani is the greatest devotee, we just took it in the concept that yes, like we're devotees, she's the greatest among those devotees. But actually Radharani herself is also Bhagavan, because she's Bhagavan Shakti. Everything within the creation is a transformation of Shakti. This is one of the unique theological conceptions in Gaudiya line that even differentiates us from the Sri Sampradaya and other Vaishnava Sampradayas, that we follow the principle called Shakti Parinamavad. In other words, we don't say that Krishna is transforming, we say Krishna's energy is transforming to become the creation, to become everything. You understand? So the whole creation is also coming from Shakti. So it is Shakti Parinamavad. You understand? So we don't say Vastu Parinamavad, which means that Krishna himself is transforming and becoming all these things. We say his energy is transforming. It's written clearly in Sastra. Parasya Shakti Vidvidaiva Shruyate Swabhava Bala Jnana Kriyacha. Krishna has unlimited manifestations of the functions of his Shakti. Swabhavik means they work automatically in conjunction with his desire. Even before his desire may be manifest, then the Yogmaya Shakti and all the other Shaktis, they work continuously under even the indication of a desire within the heart of Krishna. You understand? And that means even for the Srishti Leela, which is this whole material creation. So, to answer that devotee's question, I'm explaining that Srimati Radharani is prominent, therefore, in our practice also because the mood and method of approach to worship Krishna is only done ultimately through Radharani. So this is the mystery of the appearance of Gaur Leela. Gaur Leela's appearance is described so many places, obviously, but there's one verse in the Adi Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Shri Radha Pranaya Vikriti Ladini Shakti Asmad. So this word asmad means like a cause. What is cause? By the transformation of the Ladini Vritti. Ladini Vritti here means the pleasure potency inherent in love. Right? What is it that makes a person feel good about love? It is the pleasure potency inherent in the emotion itself. And then when there are activities that stimulate it, right, those are like udipan, right? I was describing earlier the ingredients of rasa, so I didn't get to it, but udipan means the things that stimulate love. So you have the object of love and the repository of love, and then things that stimulate their love. And then there are anubhavs, which means the resultant moods that come from that love. Then there are specific emotional things like sattvika bhavs, and then there are transitory feelings, vyabhichari bhavs. But back to this point, the Ladini Vritti is the principle of joy or happiness inherent in love. So it's described that Ladini Vritti, Ladini Sara Prem, the essence of love is this Ladini Vritti, the principle of happiness. Ladini Sara Prem, Prem Sara Bhav. That love is expressed as a spiritual emotion. It's called Bhav. Ladini Sara Prem, Prem Sara Bhav, Bhav Paramakashta. But the word Paramakashta means the highest principle of whatever it is you're talking about. So you say Paramakashta, the highest expression of this thing is called Paramakashta. Ladini Sara Prem, Prem Sara Bhav, Bhav Paramakostanam Mahabhav. So the highest expression of this, I already explained before, is called Mahabhav. Mahabhav Swarupini Shri Radha Thakurani. The very embodiment of that highest principle of love is Srimati Radharani. So here in this verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's saying, Shri Radha Pranaya. The pranay is a synonym for love. The pranay of Srimati Radhika, Vikriti, has undergone a transformation. Remember we said Shakti is what makes transformations. So, Shri Radha Pranay Vikriti Ladini Shakti Asmad. The power in the Ladini Vritti has caused the transformation. What transformation? Those persons, Radha and Krishna, who were originally one, right? It has caused them, Chaitanyakam Prakritam Taraduna Cha Aikyamaptam, to again become one. So this is a very, very special verse and should be understood deeply. Radha and Krishna have eternally separated to enjoy Leela Rasa. I've already explained that. But here in this verse, it's saying that person who was one, who became two to enjoy Leela Rasa, has again become one. Chai Aikyam Aptam. Aikyam means one. Aptam, again they've obtained oneness. What is the principle behind the oneness here? That now Krishna became so enamored by the love of Srimati Radharani that Shri Radha Pranaya Mahima Kidra Sovanyeva, I want to know what is that kind of love. Being the object of the love, I cannot experience what it's like to be in the position of the person who loves me. So in order to accomplish that, the love Shakti itself, Ladini Vritti, the Shakti of Ladini Vritti, caused a transformation to make Krishna himself be able to enter into the position of the repository of love, who Srimati Radharani, that form is called Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You understand? So as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he teaches us that the way to approach Krishna is from the position of a devotee, is to do two things. One is to accept shelter under a person who's an expansion of the shelter of Srimati Radharani. That person is called Guru. This is why we're singing every day. Nikunja yuno rati keli sidai yadali bi yuktira pekshoniyai. My Guru Dev is Nikunja Seva Siddha. Means he's also part of the expansion of the bliss of Srimati Radharani. I'm not explaining Diksha mantras here on the open forum, obviously, but for those who have Diksha, you should then understand what is the meaning of Guru Mantra, then Guru Gayatri. Guru Gayatri means the actual manifestation of your Guru as this principle. You understand? These are the rahasya or mysteries or secrets of our mantras. So, the shelter of the position of Radharani is manifest in Guru Tattva, along with the principle of the mercy of serving Krishna, which is ultimately manifest in Balaram, but which appears in its merciful form in Gaur Leela as Nityananda. So Guru is the combined form of the Shakti of Nityananda Prabhu, which is the mood of serving Krishna, and Radharani is the mood of power to serve Krishna and the mood of the bliss derived both by Krishna and by the aspirant of serving Krishna. You understand? So Guru is the embodiment of these two features, Nityananda and Shri Radha Shakti. You understand? So that is one way of approach. Then Guru gives Nam, or the mantra. And what is the mantra? That's not secret, so I can speak it here. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In these 32 syllables, 16 names, 8 pairs, the names of Radha and Krishna are throughout. Hari is the evocative. In Sanskrit, like if you're calling somebody, it's like Hare, meaning Hara. Hara means Radha, or like Radhe, Hey Radhe. So it's the vocative form of Radha, or in this case, in the mantra, Hara. So Hara or Hare, it means Radharani. We approach Krishna. Srila Prabhupada clearly, on his introduction to the Maha Mantra, explains this, that we approach Krishna through his energy, Hara or Radharani. Therefore, it becomes obvious why the worship and the mood of serving under Srimati Radharani is prominent in all Gaudiya theology, including those teachings given by Srila Prabhupada to us. Because we're not separate from the entire Gaudiya theology. Here, Gaudiya theology doesn't indicate Gaudiya Mat. This is also another very big misunderstanding, because Gaudiya Mat is the institution of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and we are all from that root. Srila Prabhupada's guru is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. How can you not be Gaudiya Mat if that's the institution of his Guru Dev? There are many missions which came as outreach from the Gaudiya Mat after the Samadhi of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Among them is the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. You have Sri Chaitanya Mission, Sri Saraswat Mat, Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti. So there are many outreaches from the original institution of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So the theology or teachings are Gaudiya theology also in the fact that they came from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings are also called Gaudiya theology. You understand? So it's not just related to an institutional consideration, it means the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Srila Prabhupada has mentioned we serve Krishna going through the Harinam, through the process of Nam, and the first Nam is Hare or Radha. You understand? As our bhakti matures, we begin to understand the importance of that, because when we aspire to enter into the spiritual world for serving Krishna, then our position will be more related to the shelter of our mood of service than directly to Krishna. You understand? It's not that we will go to the spiritual world and we will usurp the whole standards of activity there and say, hey, I'm here, but I want to have a direct relationship with Krishna. I don't want to be under anybody's guidance or in anybody's group. I want to become independent. You understand? So that's not there. Whatever rasa you have, it will be under the shelter of the asraya of that particular mood. So if you served in Vatsalya rasa, then the archetype of your service would be Nanda Maharaj and Yashodamaya. If it's in Sakya rasa, I already said, Subal, Sridham, Madhu Mangal, etc., and you'll take guidance and shelter under them. If you want to serve in Madhurya rasa, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has mentioned that the Sakis of Radhika, like Lalita, Visakha, etc., they're all Nitya Siddha. So what is available for the service of aspiring devotees for Madhurya rasa is called Paryadasi Bhav or Manjari Bhav. Right? So these are some of the nuances and details that in our maturation in bhakti we should understand. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has mentioned there are 5 types of gopis who serve Krishna. Right? Under Srimati Radharani, there are her Paramapresta Sakis like Lalita Visakha, etc. Then there are Priya Sakis. Then there are Nitya Sakis and Pran Sakis. So Pran Sakis means like Rup Manjari, Rati Manjari, right? Our Rupa Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami. And then there are Nitya Sakis, who are those who become Manjaris by sadhana. By the practice of sadhana bhakti with the aspiration for that mood in their perfection, they become Manjaris who are associated with a particular gun, means like Lalita's group, Visakha's group, under the guidance of both Rupa Manjari and their own Guru Dev, whom they realize to also be a Palyadasi of Radhika, under the guidance of their Guru, Rupa Manjari, in the gun of a particular group leader like Lalita, Visakha, etc. So this is how it works. So our approach in our practice therefore has so much emphasis on Srimati Radharani because it is the actual mode of practice. It is not that it's something that's being imposed or added. It is the very mode according to scripture of practice. If you want to chant Hare Krishna, how you do so if you don't include the name of Radha? And the name of Radha is not there haphazardly or randomly. It's because Srila Prabhupada clearly mentioned it is the means of approach to the service of Krishna. And therefore, Krishna himself comes in the form of a devotee in the mood of Radha to demonstrate the importance of going through Radha in order to serve Krishna. You understand? And then if you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are unlimited verses describing the necessity of taking shelter of Srimati Radharani as the way to approach serving Krishna. So hopefully, Prabhuji, and for your good wife also, this was an answer to your inquiry regarding the why Srimati Radharani is so important in our theology, and it's not based on institutional considerations. It is in fact the basis of the theological conceptions in Gaudiya line, right? So that also means the line of devotees coming in from Srila Prabhupada, right? The next question is relatively short. It was about how do we observe Ekadasi, and the question, when it went into detail, I don't have the question in front of me, was what is the basis? Because some devotees, they follow Nirjala Ekadasi, other devotees do Anukalp. Anukalp means if you take honor something that's not grains or beans or anything, obviously, but if you want to take any root vegetables or fruit or nuts or milk or anything like that, whatever it is that you may take on your Ekadasi Vrat, right, which is honoring some form of prasad that day. So it's not so much about the observances, was his question, but his questions led into, there are some devotees who practice Nirjala Ekadasi. And in practicing Nirjala Ekadasi, they become very proud that I'm able to abstain from eating and so forth and so on. So he was saying, he went on to ask about people who are sick, this, that, and so many different things and can't follow that. Why should they be made to feel inferior if they can't do that? Well, first we've gotten way off of the actual intent of what the Ekadasi Vrat is for. Like our deity in the temple room, and like the deity in the presence of Harinam, Ekadasi Vrat is also called Harivarsa. It is the day of Hari. So it is a deity form also of Shri Krishna and his Shakti. That day is meant to give a particular type of worship. Just like in the temple, we worship Krishna with various upachara. It means various articles of worship. On the Ekadasi day, the Vrat is like upachara. It is the means by which you're doing worship. There are various ways to do it according to scripture, right? And if you can do Nirjal, very wonderful. Then you can fast for Nirjal. But the real practice is described in Srimad Bhagavatam in the story of Maharaj Ambarish. So Maharaj Ambarish, his Vrat, right, he did Nirjal, everything like that, but he describes also the essence of his Vrat, means his Ekadasi worship. Savai Manaha Krishna Padara Vindayor Pachasmi Vaikunta Guna Anuvarane Karo Hari Mandira Majanadeshu Srutim Chakra Chuta Satkathododaye. So he says that the real Vrat is in Savai Manaha Krishna Padara Vindayor, taking the mind on that day as the upachar, as the main article of worship, and placing it exclusively at the lotus feet of Krishna, becoming absorbed. How? Vachasmi Vaikunta Guna Anubharane. By continually meditating on the activities, the qualities, the beauty of Sri Krishna. That is the essence of the Vrat. How will you do it? Oh, you can render services. Karo Hari Mandira Majanadishu. You can clean your temple. And for many devotees, it's on the Ekadasi day that if they don't do daily changing of deities, it's on that day that they do the changing of their deities, right? For many devotees, right? But cleaning the mandir, doing other services like that. But especially Shrutam Chakra Chuta Sat Kato Udaye. So this is very special line. Shruta means to hear. Chakra Chuta means the infallible Lord. Sat Kata means the transcendental, Sat Kata, eternal transcendental Kata regarding Bhagavan. The word Udaye is special here. Hear it in such a way, Udaye, that it creates realizations in your heart because you've become absorbed in the Kata because Savai Manaha Krishna Padara Vindayor. Because you've given your upachar as yourself. So ultimately, the Ekadasi Vrat is a day in which the greatest reaffirmation of your Saranagati is done. Because rather than your daily schedule of offering all of the upachars, means the articles of worship for your daily deity worship, you're reaffirming that I'm offering my very self, Atmanivedanam. I'm offering my very self. That's what the Vrat is for. And then he goes on to describe Mukunda Lingalaya Darshane, Drisho, with your eyes see the deities. Tadritta Gatra Sparshe, Anga Sangamam. Touch the body of devotees. How? Go and touch the body, meaning the lotus feet of high-class pure devotees. Do service to them. right? Go and give them things. In this way, have contact with them. Grahanam chatat pada saroja suruve. Oh, meditate on the sweetness of the fragrance. Suitable means fragrance of the lotus feet of Bhagavan. Srimad Tulosya rasanam tararpite. When you offer, if you're taking anukal, right, you don't pick tulsi, right, on Dwadasi or Ekadasi, I don't. Right, and of course you don't water your tulsi on Ekadasi either. You don't pick leaves on the Dwadasi also. Right, but it says, if you have some that you've already picked, etc., then you should relish the sweet taste of whatever it is that you're taking on that day, remembering that you've offered this to Bhagavan, because the offering is symbolized by the placement of tulsi. Right? Remember Raita Acharya, he called Mahaprabhu to descend to this world simply by one tulsi with two manjaris. You understand? He picked one tulsi bud and had two leaves with manjaris, etc. And this way, with Ganges water, he was able to invoke Mahaprabhu to descend to this world. So meditating like this, oh, Srimad Tulasi Rasanam Tarapita. Oh, what is the flavor that Bhagavan tastes in this Tulasi being offered? Which should be your own heart. Pado Hari Kshetra, Padanu Sarapane. Remember to visit all the holy places of Bhagavan. If you cannot do it physically, you don't have to leave your house and walk around in circles and say, okay, I can't go to Vrindavan or to Navadvip or to Puri. But in your mind, you should walk. You can hear the katha of those places. Siro Rishikesha, Para Abhi Vandane. Continuously in your mind, over and over. Vandane means to offer prayers, but also means Para Abhi Vandane means to place your head, right, at the lotus feet of Krishna. So again, it's Saranagati being enforced. Kamamcha dasaye natu kama kamaya. Yato uttama shloka janasrayarati. So this is a very important line. Make your desires. We cannot be free from desires, but make all of your desires line up with the desires. Janasraya means those who are devotees of the Lord, headed by your Gurudev. Right? The way that they love Krishna, dovetail all your desires in line with the desires that they have and the way they express loving Krishna. This is the essential practice of the Ekadasi Vrat. So whether you do nirjal, you take anukal, however you honor, right, you cannot take grains and beans and other things which violate the Ekadasi. Equally, you have to honor the paran. Paran means the time to break the vow on the next day. Many devotees have asked, what is the purpose of that? If you fasted, then just eat the next day. What difference does it make what time? Right? So remember, the essence of the vrat is an offering. So time matters. And in the vrat, the paran is the time when the Ekadasi vrat is completed. So it's at that time that honoring prasad after having worshipped the deity is part of the vrat. You understand? So we shouldn't think the paran is insignificant. The paran is also part of the vrat. And the vrat as a whole is the way by which we worship the Lord in the deity form of the Ekadasi day. It's a special day in which this manifestation of the deity, Ekadasi, is manifest. And our special offering on that day is all the things I just described here, which were excellently done by Maharaj Ambarish. Of course, if you go on to read the whole story when Durvasha comes, and even how this Ekadasi Vrat observed by Maharaj Ambarish, right, was more powerful than all of the austerities that have been done. This is one of the upakyan or teachings within this Leela, that the Ekadasi Vrat of Ambarish Maharaj was more powerful than all the mystic city and power of Durvas Muni. And therefore he was protected by his Ekadasi Vrat, that Durvasa could not even harm him, but rather Durvasa became implicated in aparad. And even going all the way to Vaikuntha, he could not receive any relief. Even Lord Narayan told him, Aham Bhakta Paradino, I've become subservient to my devotee. If you want relief, you'll have to go. He's Swatantrata. He's independent now. My mercy, my love has made me paradin to my devotee. You have to get relief from my devotee itself. So of course Durvasa also is a great devotee. He's also a very great devotee. Durvas, there's many meanings, but one meaning is that person in whom very difficult services is given. So he has very difficult services. For instance, he had to curse Samba in the Mosala Lila. So many different services like that Durvasa has to do. So in this particular case, he also created the offense to Ambarish Maharaj to show, one, the danger of Vaishnava aparad, and two, the power of the Ekadasi Brat. Maharaj Ambarish had done Nirjal. And when the guest comes to visit you, then you have to honor that guest. So you cannot honor prasad before your guest has come. So seeing that the time of the paran, which also one teaching here is the importance of the paran, the time to break fast, when it was observed that Durvasa and his rishis had not returned in order to honor prasad, and the paran was coming, then Maharaj Ambarish, he didn't make an independent decision. He consulted with his Gurujan. He asked, "Oh Gurujan, what should be done at this time?" Then they're taking all information from Sastra. So Guru Sadhu Sastra is also taught in this pastime. And then they told, "Oh, you can break the fast by taking some chanamrit." So only he's taking some chanamrit, but Durvasa came to show, one, what happens when a person becomes too proud and they think even that this person is insignificant to me. You understand? This person is insignificant to me. Because Maharaj Ambarish was also a very high class of devotee. But we think, oh, this person is inferior to me. I'm a renunciate, they're grahasta. I'm a sadhu, they're a king. This kind of mentality, this kind of abhiman is very dangerous and is also the precursor to committing Vaishnava aparad. You understand? So all of these things were gleaned from this pastime, and the point I wanted to make to the devotee was that you should understand, and you can speak to others, if they don't hear this tape, right, or this recording, that really Ekadasi Brat is perfectly described by Maharaj Ambarish's Leela, and this is in the 9th canto. I think this is 9, 4, 18 through 20 verses, right? Srimad Bhagavatam 9, 4, 18 through 20. So these verses describe the actual mood of worship on the Ekadasi Vrata. Okay, so hopefully this was helpful, Prabhu. I'll have to take my leave now to do some other services. My Dandavat Pranam. Oh, Dandavats to all the devotees who are on. I saw Arjun, Sadhana Siddha Prabhu, Parikshit Prabhu, Draupadi, Didi. I saw many devotees on. So hopefully this is some helpful to anybody in regards to the two subject matters that were spoken. Again, I don't know that if in the beginning of the video I saw it freezing from time to time. That could have just been on my end. I'm not sure. But hopefully the bulk of the video came out, and I'll see what can be done otherwise. Alright, my Dandavat Pranam devotees, Vanchakalpaturvesha, Kripashannavevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. Jai Radhe Radhe.